Hello everyone, my name is Masoki Mamasoki. I am a Cameroonian author. Here is one of my books. The book is called Bitek, He from Whom Death Ran. Bitek, He from Whom Death Ran. The book is available on Amazon. Okay. Because before I go any further, I would like to read an excerpt from the book because that particular excerpt is related to the topic I will be discussing in this video. Okay, I'm going to read. Here we go. Our language is the most remarkable heritage I have received from our ancestors. This same language is the most precious thing I pass on to you. Language is the fundamental guardian of tradition. It carries the knowledge of the universe. Behind every word lies a universe of infinite knowledge, a force that creates, transforms, and destroys. Our language is the gateway to the wisdom and secret of the universe. Two days ago, I did a French version of this video on my Facebook account, and many people requested that I do an English version of the video. And this is what I am doing. From time to time, I do English video, but not most of the time, because English is my third language. Even though my books are written in English language, because English is the business language. Okay. As I was saying, 2 days ago, I did a French version of this video. And the video was about African spirituality and ancestors. African spirituality and ancestors. I began by reading an excerpt from a book because that excerpt I just read to you is related with the understanding of African spirituality. African spirituality is principally based on ancestors. African spirituality is principally based on ancestors. However, the concept of ancestors is still widely misunderstood within Africa and the African diaspora. Because we try to understand the concept of ancestors based on Western language. through Western language. And this is a fundamental error that we make, which prevent us from understanding our African spirituality, from returning to our African spirituality. That's why in this book I wrote, language is the fundamental guardians of tradition. It carries the knowledge of the universe. You cannot understand African spirituality through Western language. Western language was not made to explain African spirituality. Western language was made to explain Western culture. Language is part of culture. And who talk about culture, talk about spirituality. Who talk about culture, talk about religion. Who talk about culture, talk about way of life. And language is just an expression of a culture where that particular language derived from. Language is just an expression of a culture where that particular language derived from. Right now, I'm speaking to you in English language. And the purpose of English language is to explain the English culture, not any African culture. Now, according to the Western culture, the word ancestors refer to our forefathers, refer to people that came before us, like our grandfather, great grandfather, great grandfather, and so on. That is the understanding of the word, of the concept of ancestors based on Western culture. But that is not based on African culture. So when you have a Western understanding of the concept of ancestors, and you try to apply it, within African culture, African spirituality, you are lost. And that's why you cannot understand the African spirituality. And that's why you cannot even return to your African spirituality, because you have a Western understanding of what ancestors is. Now, in your mind, because you have a Western understanding of what ancestor is, in your mind, when you think of ancestors according to Western culture, you think automatically of your grandfather, who was perhaps a drunkard. And when you realize that your grandfather was a drunkard, you cannot practice. You cannot practice African spirituality, which is based on ancestors. Because according to you, ancestors, that is your grandfather, and your grandfather was a drunkard. That block you. So you have a blockage. You have a mental blockage. When you think of your great grandfather who was a murderer, when you think of your great grandfather who was a murderer, which according to you is your ancestors, based on your Western understanding, you can no longer practice. You can no longer practice African spirituality because you have a wrong understanding what ancestors is. How can I praise? How can I worship? How can I devote myself to my great grandfather who was a murderer? For you to understand African spirituality, you have to understand African language. For you to understand African spirituality, you have to understand African language. In this book, Bitek, He from Whom Death Ran, are clearly define what is ancestors according to the Bassa understanding of the universe. Are clearly define what ancestors is according to the Bassa understanding of the universe. Based or according to the Bassa understanding of the universe, ancestors are those who unite with the sun divinity called Ra. I repeat, according to the Bassa understanding of the universe, ancestors are those who unite with the sun divinity called Ra. That is why the Bassa people call ancestor Tara. Tara. Tara is the contraction of two words. Ra, which is the divinity of the sun, and Ta, which means many things. In this case, Ta means father. Fadara. So when the Bassa people say Tara, they are not referring to the forefathers. When it comes to African spirituality, when it comes to the Bassa understanding of the universe, in fact, how the Bassa people call tradition. Tradition. This is also another word that is misunderstood when it comes to African spirituality. When we say tradition, when you bring that word to the Bassa spirituality, when the Bassa people want to say tradition, they say Mbok, Mbok. And what is Mbok? Mbok is the universe. Because when the Bassa man want to say universe in his own language, he will say Mbok. Mbok. You see. So for you to understand the spirituality of a particular culture, you have to master the language of that culture. Because tradition in the Western culture, in the Western understanding, the word tradition means something that has been practiced from generation to generation. Something that has been practiced from generation to generation. So when you practice something, even if that thing is wrong, from generation to generation, it becomes a tradition because it repeats itself. But that is not what Bassa people meant by tradition. What they meant by tradition is understanding the universe. Understanding the universe. Because, and that is science. And that is science. Understanding the universe. That's why the word God has no place within the Bassa understanding of the universe. Because according to the Bassa people, this universe has no beginning. This universe has no end. This universe has no beginning. This universe has no end. So nobody can create it. But we have goddess and we have God. We have divinity. So if you want to use the word God, in that understanding, it can only be the universe. So the aim of the Bassa tradition is to understand the universe. Is to understand the universe. Is to understand the universe. So let's come back to ancestor. Ancestors, according to the Bassa understanding of the universe, are those who unite with the divinity of the sun, Ra, Tara. So when I wake up in the morning and I do my prayer to ancestors, when I say Tara, I don't see my forefathers. I don't see my grandfather when I say Tara. When I say Tara, I don't see my great-grandfather. When I say Tara, I don't see my great-great-grandfather. When I say Tara, my mind is blank. When I say Tara, my mind is void. That is the Bassa understanding of the universe. Because we have to understand the universe, and that is tradition. The purpose of tradition is to understand the universe as a whole. And the Bassa people realize that without the sun, there's no life on earth. The sun is the principal source of energy. That is why they venerate the divinity of the sun. And also that is why they call themselves Bonba Job, that is the children of the sun. Because the sun is the principal source of energy. And black people DNA is similar to the DNA of the sun. You can check it. And last year, when I was doing the promotion of this book, Pitek, He From Whom Death Ran, I had a book discussion with a South African book club called Citibank. And one of the members of the book club asked me, is Pitek an ancestors? Is Pitek an ancestors? Pitek, which was my grandfather. And I said, I don't know. I don't know if my grandfather is an ancestor. Because based on the Bassa understanding of the universe, which can be regarded as tradition. Ancestors are not necessarily our forefathers, are not necessarily those who came before us as understood within the Western culture. As understood within the Western culture. So for you to understand the African spirituality, you have to understand the African language. Because language holds the secret of the universe. Language holds the secret of the universe. I advise you to get a copy from this book. You will know about the African spirituality, about colonialism, you will not regret having this book. So thank you very much for watching. You can follow me on YouTube. On YouTube, Masoki Mamasoki. I had some English video there, but people have requested that I do more English video than French, because English is far more global. This is why I decided to write in English language. All of my books, they are in English, because English is more global. Okay, thank you for watching. Take care.